be hosting its meetings in a virtual format until further notice. The public can listen to and view the virtual meetings at fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV and on youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, as well as on Comcast Channel 78 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. For those who want to speak on an agenda item and have not already signed up to do so, please visit www.fortlauderdale.gov/V as in Victor C meetings in order to sign up. In order to help ensure the same decorum as our in-person meetings, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. 1, please refrain from any behavior that's disruptive, distractive, profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. 2, while you're on the phone waiting for your opportunity to speak, please mute the meeting broadcast on FLTV, YouTube, Comcast, or AT&T if watching simultaneously to avoid delays with the broadcast. I will call upon you when it is your turn to speak and also notify you when your time has expired. The city staff has automatically added speakers in the to listen only mode, and you will be unmuted to speak when recognized. Finally, once you have completed speaking, you'll be muted and may either hang up to exit the meeting, or you may stay and stay connected and listen to the rest of the meeting. So before we begin the agenda announcements and so forth, I just want to make a couple of announcements. First of all, I want to wish all of our Jewish friends a happy Rosh Hashanah, which I understand begins at the end of this week, and also an easy fast for Yom Kippur. We will not be meeting before those holidays will be upon us. So I wish you all the best of health. Do you want to add any comments, Commissioner Glassman?
No, thank you, Mayor. Yes, it actually begins, Rosh Hashanah begins Friday evening. So Lashana Tova to all of the folks that are observing that holiday. Thank you. Yes, and an easy fast. May you all have a sweet and prosperous and healthy new year. Thank you.
I also want to announce that the deadline for the census count is coming up upon us at the end of this month. And it really, really is important that anybody who's listening to this meeting, after the meeting, go to your computers and please make sure you sign up yourself and your family, all those living in your household, to make sure you are counted for the census. It's extremely important. Our city depends on federal funding, and funding is also dependent on the population. So please take this message seriously. And make sure that everybody that is in your household, and when you go to work, make sure your co-workers are aware of this. We must sign up before the end of this month. So thank you very much for listening. So I have a couple of agenda announcements. Removed from the agenda is CR2, the award and sale of city-owned property located at 221 Northwest 6th Street. And a couple of changes. PH5, a memo change has been updated to reflect an approval vote of 9-1. And OSR1, the memo changed to reflect September 15th instead of the date that's there. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes and the agenda?
I've got
Do you have others?
Yes, I've got 3 additional that came late today. They're the 3 that are at PH 3, 4, and 5. They're all related to dockage, I believe. 3, 4, and 5 need to seek deferral till October 6th.
Which items are those?
PH 3, PH 4, PH 5.
Okay, so PH 3, PH 4, and PH 5 will be deferred to what date?
October 6th.
October 6th. So let me take these out. So those of you who have signed up tonight for these items, we will not be hearing those items tonight. They will be heard on the first meeting in October, which is October 6th. Any other agenda announcements?
No.
So do I now hear a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes?
So moved. Oh, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas, Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the minutes and the agenda are now approved. We have three presentations tonight, and I'd like to welcome Commissioner Sorensen, who has a presentation to present regarding Linda Carter Day. Commissioner Sorensen.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. And Linda, can you, unmute? And there you are, looking so cheerful and wonderful. Mayor, it's an honor to read a proclamation celebrating Linda Carter's amazing work and dedication to our community. So we're going to do this virtually, and we have the actual proclamation coming to Linda's home soon. So, Linda, this is in recognition of your 23 years of dedicated service to the Community Foundation of Broward. Whereas a Fort Lauderdale native, Linda Carter is retiring after 23 years as president and CEO of the Community Foundation of Broward and a lifetime of community activism in Fort Lauderdale and Broward County, which won't stop, by the way. We'll continue. Whereas Linda Carter has empowered local philanthropists to create personalized charitable funds at the Community Foundation that have distributed more than $120 million and produced game-changing impact on the issues that matter in our community. And whereas under her leadership, Linda Carter has expanded the Community Foundation assets from 20 million to 222 million. Mayor, maybe we could look at her managing some of our assets. She's increased annual grants from 1 million a year to 1 million a month, engaged more than 10,000 hours of volunteerism, and established the foundation as one of the top 100 community foundations in the United States. And whereas throughout her career, Linda Carter has united local leaders, key stakeholders, and community organizations to spotlight essential needs, connect people who care with causes that matter, and take action to address many of our biggest challenges. And whereas for people, she sparked foster care reform and a safety net for 800 youth who annually age out of our program. In education, she focused on a $3 million 3-year School is Cool partnership with Broward County Public Schools to increase graduation rates from 77% to 86%. And for seniors, she spearheaded a funding collaborative to identify senior citizens' vulnerabilities and implement solutions to overcome them. And that was all before lunch. And whereas the City of Fort Lauderdale commends Linda Carter for her decades of distinguished service, her deep love and appreciation of our community, and her many contributions to the programs and advancements of our city. Now, therefore, we as the City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale do hereby proclaim September 15th, 2020 as Linda Carter Day, signed Mayor Dean J. Trentalis. Yay! Linda, thank you. And I turn it over to you, Linda, to share whatever you'd like to share.
Thank you so much. I mean, all day I've thought about what do I want to say, and I have to say I'm speechless, which those of you who know me find that really hard to believe. But I am so touched by this. For me, it's a recognition of the impact that the Community Foundation makes, and the fact that the commission recognizes that. I really appreciate it. And it's been a wonderful 23-year experience, and prior to that being at the Museum of Discovery and Science. So, making Fort Lauderdale better, making Broward County better has been my privilege and my honor. And it has been a team sport. I've worked with many of you. I think Dean was actually one of the first people I met on the job 23 years ago. And it's people like you who get engaged, who get involved, and who say, I'm not going to stand at the sidelines. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to do something. That gives me great joy. And I think that's what makes our community so exciting and so strong. And so thank you so much for this honor. I am touched by your commitment to the community and your thoughtfulness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Linda. And just to add, I have worked with you for many, many years, and it's been an absolute pleasure not only to work side by side with you, but to see your empathetic devotion to many of the beneficiaries that the Community Foundation has worked with and partnered, and the reason why the fund, the balance of the fund has increased so exponentially is because people feel very comfortable. They entrust you with their endowments, and over the years, working on the Graves Foundation board, it's been really great, trying to fulfill the wishes of individuals, and I can see you do that in multiple situations. So we're going to miss you, and Commissioner Sorensen said you're not going away, so that's a good thing. So when you reinvent yourself, we're looking forward to that. But at least the commission can make a day for you in your honor, and we're so happy to make today that day. So thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much. And the foundation is got a great CEO and Jennifer. It's got a great board. It's got a great staff. It's going to be exciting to watch what the next 23 years produces.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, this is John Herbst. If I could, I have served with Linda on the Community Foundation's Audit Committee and Finance Committee for the last 10 years. And I can tell you on behalf of both of those committees, we are really, truly going to miss Linda's just strong hand at the wheel. Her, as you said, her devotion to the community is just outstanding. And personally, I'm going to say I've really enjoyed our time together, Linda. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Vice Mayor Glassman, you have a proclamation tonight. How would you like to share that with us?
I would. Thank you, Mayor. And I think that everyone can see Chad Van Horn. Is Chad right there close up? And he's here on behalf of the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So Chad is with us. Thank you very much, Chad. And I'd like to present this in recognition of Big Brothers, Big Sisters Month, September 2020. Whereas, for more than 100 years, Big Brothers Big Sisters has operated under the belief that inherent in every child is the ability to succeed and thrive in life. And whereas, as the nation's largest donor and volunteer-supported mentoring network, Big Brothers Big Sisters makes meaningful, monitored matches between adult volunteers called Bigs and children ages 6 through 18 called Littles in communities across the country. And whereas, locally, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Broward County enables life-changing mentoring relationships to ignite the power and promise of youth in our community. And whereas investing in young people's futures pays off with a social return on investment of $18 to 1 through improved economic, health, and social outcomes for young people with mentors. And whereas national research has shown that positive relationships between littles and their bigs have a direct and measurable impact on children's lives. After spending only 18 months with their big brother or big sister, little brothers and sisters in the program were 45% less likely to begin using illegal drugs, 27% less likely to begin using alcohol, 52% less likely to skip school, and 37% less likely to skip a class. And whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters of Broward County has created more than 1,500 mentoring matches each year by partnering with parents, guardians, volunteers, and others in the community to help youth achieve higher aspirations, greater confidence, better relationships, avoidance of risky behavior, and educational success. And whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters of Broward's goal this year is to recruit enough volunteers to match every young person on its wait list as part of its Broward Bigger, Better, Stronger initiative. And whereas the City of Fort Lauderdale commends Big Brothers Big Sisters of Broward County for its dedication to making a difference in the lives of thousands of little brothers and little sisters through successful mentorships that help guide young people toward a future filled with promise and opportunity for success. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, do hereby proclaim September 2020 as Big Brothers Big Sisters Month, and signed by the Honorable Mayor, Dean, J. Trentalis.
Great, thank you so much. Chad, you have a few words you'd like to share with us?
Yes, Mayor, just very briefly, as chairman of the board, as a big with my little brother is a resident of Fort Lauderdale as well. I've been with him for 8 years. And on behalf of Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Broward County, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Vice Mayor Glassman, and thank you to the City Commission of my home city, Fort Lauderdale, for this proclamation. We have 730 children on our wait list, many who are residents of Fort Lauderdale. We welcome all the residents of Fort Lauderdale to get involved and become a mentor. And I see some great mentors on this commission as well. So if any of you want to get involved and become a mentor, we certainly would welcome that. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Chad.
I wish there were time, Chad. I wish there was time. Thank you again, Chad, for all the work you do on behalf of our community and helping bring young children into adulthood. And finally, we have Commissioner Moritas, who will present a proclamation as well. Commissioner Moritas.
Thank you, Mayor, and forgive me, I actually went on site to the parking garage and issued this proclamation to Dr. Brian Slamovitz at Broward Health and a group of young local advocates, high school girls who wanted me to recognize and advocate for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. So we did that in front of the garage, and thank you for the city for lighting it up teal. So presented in recognition of National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas according to the American Cancer Society, ovarian cancer claims the lives of more women than any other cancer of the female reproductive system. Whereas in 2020, an estimated 21,750 women will be diagnosed with ovarian cancer and nearly 14,000 will perish from this devastating disease. Whereas these women are mothers, wives, sisters, daughters, aunts, grandmothers, neighbors, friends, and loved ones, and their absence will leave an emptiness in our hearts that will be deeply felt forever. Whereas every woman is at risk for ovarian cancer, regardless of age, heritage, or medical history, and whereas because ovarian cancer is difficult to detect, women are often not diagnosed until the disease has reached an advanced stage, meaning that recognizing risk factors is critical to fighting the disease. Whereas the City of Fort Lauderdale is proud to participate in the Turn the Town Teal national campaign to promote awareness of ovarian cancer, its subtle symptoms and risk factors by lighting up the Las Olas parking garage in the color teal to help call attention to the disease and emphasize the importance of education, early detection, and prevention. And whereas if detected early, ovarian cancer is treatable and the survival rate can increase up to 94%. Whereas during the month of September, we make an extra effort to honor all those we have lost to ovarian cancer, show our support for those who are bravely carrying on the fight, and rededicate ourselves to remember engaged in projects and initiatives dedicated to eradicating the disease. Whereas by continuing to advocate for more advanced ovarian cancer research by the scientific and medical communities, we look forward to the development of better prevention strategies, early detection tools, and more effective treatments and therapies in hopes of one day finding a cure. Now, therefore, we, as City Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale, do hereby proclaim September 2020 as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. Signed, Mayor Dean J. Trentalis. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that, Commissioner. Okay, so we now move on to the agenda, and we now have the consent agenda. Does anyone have any consent agenda items they would like to pull? Commissioner Moritas?
No.
Vice Mayor?
No.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes, CM3, I got a question.
CM3, okay. And Commissioner Sorensen?
No.
No, okay. So except for CM3, we have one person, Josh Stern, who wanted to speak on CM2. And if anybody had any interest in speaking on any of the consent agenda items, because CM2 is the only one that someone had signed up to speak on. CR5 and CR8, those are for questions only, so we're not going to impose on you to speak tonight. Just CM2. So CM2, Josh, are you on the phone? If you are, now's the time to speak on the item, We're good?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I think I signed up by mistake. I wanted to just be online in case you had any questions about it as the event organizer, but it seems like everything's okay. So
Okay, great. So no, you have nothing specific. Okay, very good. So we'll move on to CM3. Commissioner McKenzie.
My question's for Alan. Alan, just quickly, how much have we expended on this project with legal fees thus far?
So far on the Part 150 airport noise compatibility planning and the Metroplex, we're at 59,000 and change, which is why this item is here, because originally when we passed the resolution and the CAM had represented to you all that we were setting a limit of $50,000 for that expenditure. The funds are there, but in all fairness, to come back to you and to let you know that we've exceeded that amount, and so we're asking for another 50 to give us a cushion to complete the project.
How close are we to getting our wishes or our outcome?
It's difficult to tell. I think the bulk of the work has been accomplished. We had hired our expert counsel dealing with FAA matters, which in turn had to hire a consultant because of all the data that was in need of presentation to the FAA. You can never really tell with the federal government and the FAA, but we seem to have gone through the bulk of the process.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you for sure if we have a lot more to do, but we submitted a good amount of information to the FAA. And at this point, I think they're going to do what they're going to do.
All right, thank you. I'll move the item.
Okay, it has been moved. Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second? Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the item is approved. Now we'll take a vote on the balance of the consent agenda items. Do I hear a motion to approve all the consent agenda items?
So move.
Moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, now all the consent agenda items have now been approved. Thank you all who were involved with any of those items. You're certainly welcome to stay and connected to the meeting. Otherwise, we're going on to additional business. Moving on to M1, this is a motion approving the City of Fort Lauderdale's Fire Rescue Department's participation in the supplemental payment program for Medicaid managed care patients with the State of Florida's Agency for Healthcare Administration. Anyone have any questions with regard to that? Someone please make the motion.
So move.
Moved. Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and M1 is approved. M2, motion approving the interlocal agreement with the City of Wilton Manors for fire rescue services. Someone like to make a motion to approve?
Approve.
Moved. Second.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis. Yes, and M2 is approved. M3, this is a motion approving the events agreement, extended music hours, extended road closures beyond 10 a.m. on the Barrier Island for exclusive sports marketing for the 2021 Publix Fort Lauderdale A1A Marathon, Half Marathon, 5K, Coleman 6K, and the kids race. It's gonna be a busy day. We have 2 people signed up to speak. What's that?
I said, we hope.
Yeah, we hope. We have 2 people signed up to speak. Marcela Todd. We missed you this afternoon, Marcela. Are you on the phone? Marcela Todd.
We don't see anybody with that name.
Okay.
Hello. Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are.
Hi. My apologies on this afternoon. I was a little confused with the sign up, but I just wanted to say, as a very committed member of the running community and health and fitness community in our county. I feel that it's really very important that we can have this event for the kids. We really need this
Okay.
opportunity for mental health and all. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, well, thank you. Matt,
Mayor?
wait a minute, someone else is considered to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Matt Lorraine, Matt, are you there? Matt Lorraine?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
I just wanted to make myself available if there are any questions as the event director. And I also just wanted to say thank you for considering us during these interesting times that we live in.
you're not kidding. So I hope you can create a safe and successful event for the community, and let's hope that your wishes are fulfilled. So yes, now Vice Mayor, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Chris, I have a question. I know that events used to run by sort of an open meeting where people would be able to participate from the different neighborhoods that were impacted by whatever events were happening. Is that still continuing even virtually? Because I was just wondering if, for instance, in this case, the Central Beach Alliance was notified. This is a lot on one day. And but for all the neighborhoods that are impacted by any of these events that we're approving now, are those meetings still taking place where everyone's invited to participate and hear about events as they come forward?
So let's go to our Parks Director. This department facilitates special event planning. Phil, there he is.
Good evening. So yes, Vice Mayor, we still have the meetings on our Wednesdays. They are virtual now. And we continue to send out the emails to all the homeowners associations, inviting them to the virtual meetings and making them aware of how they can contact us. So the only thing that's changed is we're not meeting in person now. We are meeting virtually, but the HOAs are contacted for those meetings.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we were communicating with all of those associations. So thank you, Phil. Thank you, Chris. I'm good, Mayor. Thank you. And I can move the item.
Move the item?
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and M3 is approved. M4, this is a motion approving a settlement agreement with Wayne Griffin and Stephanie Calzadia. I have two people sign up to speak. Janice Griffin, are you there? And Wayne Griffin? Janice or Wayne?
Can we see Janice for sure? She's able to unmute now.
Okay, yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Janice, good evening.
Good evening.
Please go ahead.
We just wanted to be available should there be any questions. I would like to just a quick thank you to Commissioner McKenzie for being able to move us onto the agenda today. And we appreciate that, but it's basically just to be available in case there were any questions about the agreement.
Okay, and same with is this your husband, Wayne?
My son, actually, he's the owner of the property.
Okay, all right, very good. There being no one else wishing to speak, any members of the commission have anything else to ask? Okay, thank you so much. Someone like to move the item?
I'll move it.
I hear a second.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and M4 is approved. M5, this is a motion approving the City of Fort Lauderdale voting delegate and alternate designations for the National League of Cities 2020 Virtual City Summit and Annual Business Meeting to take place November 18th to the 21st of this year. Someone like to be the delegate for the National League of Cities?
I will, Mayor.
Okay, and I guess you don't really have to travel anywhere. You just have to participate by Zoom. And who would like to be the alternate? Remember, you don't have to leave your home.
Well, I always go anyway, but I'll still do it.
All right, so you'll be the alternate. All right, very good. So we have someone like to introduce a motion appointing Commissioner Heather Moritas as voting delegate and Commissioner Robert McKenzie as the alternate delegate for the National League of Cities.
Move.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Wait, excuse me, that's not, it's a motion. So who moved the item?
Glassman.
Glassman? And so Sorensen seconded it. Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes. And the motion is now approved. Now we move on to resolutions. R1, appointment of boards and committees. I'd like to read the names into the record.
Yes, okay, for the October 6th meeting, for the Public Art and Placement Board, Commissioner Sorensen is nominating for consensus Sarah Glass. And Sarah is a professional artist. That was one of those categories that still needed to be filled. And then for tonight's resolution, we have the Beach Business Improvement District. All of those appointments are on. AJ Yari for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce representative. Jason Hughes is the Beach Redevelopment Board representative. Anna McDermott is primary member for the W, and Bridget One Venue is the alternate representative for the W. Carlos Salazar, primary member for Ocean, and Ken Elzanato is the alternate member. For the Ritz-Carlton, Foster Kusick is primary member, and Michael Chiazando is alternate member. For Bahia Mar, primary member Lisa Namor, and Stephen Green, alternate member. For Marriott Courtyard, Mike Fleming, primary member, and Steve Zunt, alternate member. For Weston, Daniel Estevez, primary member, and Lori Johnson, alternate member. For the Sonesta, Michael Medeiros, primary member. They don't have their alternate yet. And then for the Public Art and Placement Advisory Board, Martha Gutierrez Steinkamp, nominated by Commissioner Moritas, and Michelle Howland, nominated by Commissioner Sorensen. And then tonight, we need to make sure we also put on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee category local elected officials. So we have that on prior to October 1, as noted. And that's a 3-year term beginning September 25th and ending, September 25th, 2020, and ending September 24th, 2023.
Okay, so you can, no one else has stepped up to the plate, so I will be happy to put my name in, assuming I'm reelected. I will be happy to fill out the term.
Okay, so for tonight's resolution, we'll have to do that as if it's introduced as amended to get Dean J. Trentalis on in that locally elected official for Affordable Housing Advisory Committee.
Okay. Would someone like to introduce the resolution as amended?
Introduce.
Amended.
A resolution and city commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, appointing or nominating applicable board and committee members as set forth in the exhibit attached here to and made a part hereof. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Congratulations to all the folks that have been appointed or reappointed, and thank you for your commitment to our community. R2, resolution repealing Resolution 10-265, which adopted a planning and zoning fee schedule pursuant to the ULDR Section 47-24.1H, fees and costs, and establishing a new urban design and planning, zoning, and landscape fee schedule that incorporates costs associated with engineering division review. I have one person who's signed up to speak, Phil Gano. Phil, are you on the line? Philip?
Yes, I'm a consultant that work with the division. I'm here just in case you have any questions.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you. Did I pronounce your name right?
It's Go Not.
Go Not, okay, sorry. Okay. If I said Go Not, I would have been told it's Gano. Anyway, thank you. Would someone like to introduce the resolution?
Mayor, I have a comment on this one.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to be introduced first, or do you want the discussion first?
Why don't you introduce it and then we'll have discussion.
Okay, thank you. Introduced.
Okay, now speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to address an issue with regards to the Sailboat Bend Historic District. And I'm looking in particular at Exhibit 3, which are basically the fees for the Historic Preservation Board. I want to throw something out there. I've been attending a lot of the meetings with the Sailboat Bend Civic Association and hearing a lot of the issues in the neighborhood. So when I'm looking at the fees, I would like everyone to consider this. You know, if you live in the Sailboat Bend Historic District and you want to do something to your property, chances are you're going to have to appear before the Historic Preservation Board. It's not that you even have a choice to appear before the Historic Preservation Board if you're going to do the work properly. So this is what I'd like to throw out. I don't know why we have that kind of regulation, although I am in support of that and I support the historic district. But yet I think it's kind of unfair to then go ahead and charge people when you say you must come before this board. It's not as if people are just going before a board to offer a development proposal or to do any of these other things that we're charging fees for. These are actually residents of that neighborhood. And so if you're going for an alteration on your property or something to that effect, I just don't see the need or the want, actually. I don't think that these few dollars make a difference to us as a city. And maybe someone can tell me exactly how much we take in on these fees. But that extra $230 to the resident of that neighborhood, I think could go a long way. They have to make God knows how many copies of everything. I don't even understand that. I mean, I don't understand why they can't just submit one copy and let the city make how many copies they need for staff or for the Historic Preservation Board. But I just think that they need a little relief there, and it's not a lot of money. And I would like us to consider something like that, where if you are a resident of the historic district and you need to go in front of that Historic Preservation Board, you should not be also then mandated to pay that fee. That's how I feel about that.
What is the fee?
I think it's $230 for the proposed fee is saying the same. The alterations they range from $230 for an administrative application, a review and comment $230, $310 for a major alteration, $310 for a COA for new construction. And then if something's greater than 2,000 square feet, it goes up to $560. It seems to range between $230 and $560, with most of them being $230 and $310 per application for the residents of that neighborhood.
But Vice Mayor, my understanding is that the purpose of these fees is to cover the cost of the salaries and the physical plant of the city in reviewing applications for building permits. I mean, it's not like it's a penalty or trying to inhibit people from applying for permits, but this is to cover the cost of what it costs the city to operate. So you're asking the city to absorb the cost somehow, that someone else should pay for that cost?
Well, this is the only historic residential district in the city.
Right.
So I understand when we have these fees for folks across the city for a variety of issues, and they're all enumerated in the backup that we have. But this is something very different for a group of owners in a district that we have declared a historic district. And we also mandate that they go in front of the Historic Preservation Board. Again, it's not their choice to go before the Historic Preservation Board. We are telling them that. So to me, it's just a very different circumstance that no other neighborhood in the city goes through that process. I just look at it as a sort of a relief. It's enough to prepare your case, to prepare your paperwork, to get all your ducks in a row, to do what you need to do for your certificate of appropriateness. I just think that it's not necessary. Chris, are those fees generating a dollar amount that is full cost recovery on what it costs the city to operate for these kinds of applications at the Historic Preservation Board? Do you know that information?
Yeah, so I saw Anthony come on video. He and I talked about this last night. I think I'll defer to him as to what we're proposing here, and maybe he can answer that question. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes, hi, good evening. Anthony Fajardo, Sustainable Development. So the fees that are being proposed by the resolution are actually half of what it would cost to recover the full cost recovery. So in 2008, the City Commission decided that that was a good way to incentivize historic preservation across the board, not just for Sailboat Bend. And so what we've proposed is that if there are any fees that were established by the 2008 resolution, we would keep those the same. Any new fees that were identified as part of the consultant's work for the amount of work that happens on behalf of staff for applications would be captured at 50% of what the actual rate was. So it does not fully recover the cost. We tried to maintain that same methodology from 2008.
No, and I understand, but there is no other neighborhood, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no other neighborhood in the city that's required to apply for these extra permits and extra work, correct?
Well, there's the H1 district that also has to go before the Historic Preservation Board. There's
residential.
Residential, you're correct. That's correct. About the closest thing I could equate it to would be the Board of Adjustment. You do get a lot of single family residential throughout the city. However, that's a variance process, not an approval for an application for historic preservation or alterations to a historic property in the district.
No, and I understand. I'm just saying because this is the only neighborhood of its like this in the entire city, and this is an additional requirement, an additional permit, if you will, if you want to call the COA a permit, an additional fee that no one else experiences. And again, as I mentioned earlier, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but these folks are not going in front of the Historic Preservation Board by choice. They're going in front of the Historic Preservation Board because our ordinance mandates that they go in front of the Historic Preservation Board. So then to charge them that amount. Yes.
Don't they move into the neighborhood by choice? Did someone twist their arm to go into historic district?
Well, that's a whole nother story, Mayor, and I don't feel like going there right now with you. But you can talk to the people in Sailboat Bend about if that's what you think.
May I add to this? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, I was just gonna say, if the problem is them having to come in front of the historical board, why don't we change the ordinance to not have to come in front of the historical board?
No, that's impossible. They must come because you have to, because the very nature of the fact that it's a district, and there are guidelines and there's Secretary of the Interior standards. And we're a certified local government that has those kinds of guidelines and requirements. No, I think that's a very important step. We are making it a less onerous process. We are making a lot of things now administrative, where they don't have to necessarily come before the board and where just staff can handle some of the less impactful changes that they're requesting. But even that requires, I think, a $230 fee, even if it's handled administratively where they don't have to come before the board. But I think
isn't that because don't we have that all in place so that that is preserved, historic, and really is to a higher standard in terms of?
Oh yes, but I'm not arguing with you about that. Oh, for sure. I'm just saying that I just don't think it's fair to mandate them go before the board and then at the same time charge them to do it. I think mandating them to go before the board is very important for a historic district.
Right. I agree.
Charging them the fee to do it, I don't think is important.
Vice Mayor.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Robert. Go ahead.
I do agree. The second worst thing you can do in terms of beating a dead horse is betting on one. So I would love to bet on this horse because because they're gonna pay a building permit fee once they're approved by the process. So what the vice mayor is saying is, why are they paying additional fees? And if any other department in this city could absorb this waiver of fees for that part of the process, I'll be willing to support. I just think it's encumbersome to be forced, then charge additional, and then when you're approved, you go now apply for the building permit and pay the other fees. So I'll be willing to side with the vice mayor in trying to waive these fees if we can somehow work that out tonight.
Well, but again, according to Anthony Fajardo, this is only partial cost recovery for the process.
For the process, but they're still going to pay for a building permit fees. Just say I'm doing windows and a roof and some doors. I'm still going to spend a couple $1,000s on fees once I get permission to move forward.
Yeah, but I'm
it's not like
assuming
we're waiving all the fees.
So, Vice Mayor, so
helps reimburse the city.
Yeah, so Vice Mayor, so you're saying that people should not have to go before the Historic Preservation Board?
No, I'm not saying that.
So how do we recover the cost of that aspect of the process?
Mayor, this is Anthony. If I could just interject real quick, just for purposes of clarification. There are two separate fees that Commissioner McKenzie is actually referencing. When an item goes before for building permitting, that would fund the enterprise fund for building permitting services.
Right.
The fee that we're talking about right now is a general fund fee. I just want to throw that out there so there was clarification on where those monies would go, depending on what services we were being provided.
Are there separate services? Are separate services expended when it goes to the Historic Preservation Board?
Yes. The methodology in the consultant's report was to do full cost recovery based on everything, cost of staff to perform the service as well as overhead.
I think we do away with it.
So Vice Mayor, so how would we recover the cost for the process of going before the Historic Preservation Board? I'm trying to work with you, but I'm trying to understand how we recover that cost if you still think that they should go before the Historic Preservation Board.
Well, I have a hard time feeling that $230 or that $310 is going to make or break the city when these people come before the Historic Preservation Board. Because guess what? The first item on that, and I'm looking at Exhibit 3, $230, that's just a minor alteration that gets done administratively. So they're not even coming before any board. They're actually just applying. And now that we've changed our ordinance for the better, and I'm really happy with the changes we've made, some of these items are handled administratively now. Everyone does not have to go to the Historic Preservation Board for minor alterations. So, I mean, you could even look at the list, staff could figure it out. So maybe you don't do it for new construction in front of the, in front of the HPB. Maybe you don't do it for demolition. Maybe you don't do it for accessory or relocation. Maybe what we're just talking about are minor alterations, major alterations, and that's it. I mean,
renovations.
Just those levels, just those lower levels that are now being charged $230 or $310. I don't think anyone would be hurt, and yet I think that would be very helpful to the folks, because typically I believe that most of these folks are coming for either administrative relief or minor alterations or major alterations, and none of them are above $310. And as Commissioner McKenzie said, if they're going for anything greater, they are going to pay for the permit fees and they are going to pay for the work. So I think that's a win-win. That's just my opinion. That's why I'm throwing it out.
Okay, so the permit fees that are paid into the enterprise fund are to cover the cost of the cost to the city for that aspect of the review process. Because there's an additional review process by going before the Historic Preservation Board, this is not charged to the applicant if they don't go to the Historic Preservation Board. This is only if they do go to the Historic Preservation Board. So,
but they are required to go in that district.
Not every time. No, you said some of them are handled administratively.
They still have to go. but it's an administrative process. They still have to apply.
Right,
And
they
it's
still have to fill out an
administered by-
application.
Right.
Yes,
So you never get exempt from it.
correct.
Well, you know what? We need to pass this tonight, and you, the request that you're making, I think, needs further analysis. Can we separate out this aspect of it and pass the balance of it so that we can figure out what we're going to do here? Because it sounds a little more complex than just excising certain aspects of this and not fully understanding the intended or unintended consequences of what you're asking.
It's just a policy change, and we're the policy makers.
I know we're the policy maker, but we also have to be responsible for our finances.
But
And
I think we are. I think if you look at how many people are really coming to do renovations and additions in that district, like the Vice Mayor said, it's not an astronomical amount of money for the minor and alteration and the renovation. Maybe
we don't know that. We don't know how many.
Does Anthony know? Does Anthony know how much the city took in? Does Anthony know how much we took in for these applications?
We have the numbers from fiscal year 19. So Anthony, why don't you, that was published as one of the pieces of backup. Why don't you walk through that?
Yeah, let me pull up the backup and I'll get back with you in just.
It's attached as Exhibit 3. If I beat you to it, I can beat you to it. So.
Yep, I have it.
Okay,
I have
go.
it. So it looks like the total revenue was, and this is for every fee, was 7,250.
There you
You
have
say
it.
every fee of what?
This is
Every
every fee that's
application.
in exhibit. This is every fee that's in Exhibit 3.
For the historic preservation part.
But I believe that this backup is only, you know what?
Analysis for the historic preservation work. We just looked at the cost for the city to produce the work.
Well, if I look at Exhibit 3 for 2019, I think I have found some information. Look at how many applications there were: 2 for review and comments, 17 for minor alterations, and administrative application. So we're talking that, you know, the 2 review and comment, the city took in $460. If you're talking about minor alterations and fees in front of HPB, the city took in $3,900. The city had 1 for major alteration, that's $310. So that's where I would actually cut it off. I wouldn't even, you know, you could even go further down the line, but you know, you're talking about maybe $6,000 or $7,000 a year, it looks like, for 2019. Now, why that might, and that doesn't, now that, if you're telling me the city's not going to be able to live with that cut of $7,000, but yet that $7,000 is very important to those 17 homeowners in that neighborhood that were mandated to go in front of the HPB, I think you cut them that break. And I think that we can live without that $7,000 in 2020.
I concur. Again, I'm betting on the horse.
It's dead.
So Vice Mayor, if I hear you correctly, I just wanted to make sure that I understand. Are you talking about just residents and property owners of Sailboat Bend? Or are you also talking about residents and property owners of designated landmark sites? Because those would also be included.
Well, the land, how much of a difference does that make? Obviously, I was just centered on the neighborhood itself, but how many people then are that what's that universe look like that we're talking about in the city that would come, and how many have come in front of, or is that even included in these numbers? 17 people from last year. Does that include all designated sites, even outside of historic district?
Well, when you see the 17, it says minor alterations, Sailboat Bend Historic District administrative application. There wouldn't be administrative applications for some of these others, but I just wanted to clarify that based on your comments, I wanted to make sure I understood what it is you're trying to accomplish. So if you're just talking about Sailboat Bend and residents and property owners of Sailboat Bend, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure you weren't also talking about, because we do have designated landmark sites that would be subject to C of A requirements for alterations.
Yes, and I understand that. But then help me understand that. That's well, again, I don't know the number of properties we're talking about, or I don't know the frequency in which they come before the HPB. I don't know how much more of a financial impact to the city we're talking about. I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Generally
But right
speaking,
now, I was
generally
originally-
speaking, that number is very low. We see a majority of them coming out of Sailboat Bend.
Well, yes, that makes sense to me. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't have a problem if we granted that relief to anyone that had a designated property in the city, knowing full well that it's mostly going to be just the Sailboat Bend Residential Historic District. But that would be me if I was making up my mind on this. But I'm just saying that I think that little bit of relief would go a long way. That's all.
That would be us.
All right, so do you want to make, so Vice Mayor, do you want to make a motion to, I mean, it is giving people special treatment, but do you want to make a motion introducing the resolution as amended?
Yes, but I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
Eliminating that particular aspect that you've been describing?
Yes, the historic, I guess that's just Exhibit 3. But here's why I just want to say something to what you just said about you're giving some people special treatment. But you're also making sure that those same people have, additional hoops to jump through. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I understand the importance of it. So I don't really think that, they're getting special treatment per se.
Well, the thing is, years ago, the city of Fort Lauderdale decided to establish the Sailboat Bend Historic District.
Correct.
You go through that area now, it's gorgeous, okay? The integrity of the housing and the landscape and the scale and the architecture, for the most part, has been respected. And it is indeed one of the prettiest parts of South Florida, as far as I'm concerned. It captures old Florida. And so, we want to incentivize people to continue to maintain the integrity of that community. I know we're all trying to do that. And what you're saying tonight to me sounds like if you take away one hurdle, it will incentivize people to try to follow the process and ensure that they're going to maintain the integrity of the architecture and the historic significance of that neighborhood. I get that. I just want to make sure we're not going to provide a loophole for people to sort of try to avoid that responsibility, to avoid going to the Historic Preservation Board, and to try to skirt the rules regarding the integrity of the neighborhood. So I'm with you if we know that is okay, because I just want to make sure I know you and I are both on the same page regarding preserving the historical integrity of the neighborhood.
Yes.
If this incentivizes people to do that, then I'm with you.
And thank you for that. And I do agree with you. And we have to give incentives, because that's another discussion for another day. In fact, that's part of a future phase of our historic preservation ordinance rewrite, where we've always discussed ways to incentivize folks to want to be a part of historic preservation and to follow historic preservation. You have to give incentives, because when you're putting extra regulations on them, you have to be able to also incentivize the notion. So I agree with you 100%. And I would be, go ahead.
These regulations, didn't Sailboat Bend want additional regulations?
I can't speak for the whole neighborhood right now, but I do know that at one time it was the neighborhood that overwhelmingly came to the city back, I guess, about 30 years ago, I think 30 years ago. And they said we wanted to be a historic district. Yes, right. 30 years ago, that's exactly what happened. Right. There are some people in Sailboat Bend who are not happy with that. Even people that purchased there knowing that they were purchasing in a historic district are not happy with that. But I agree with the mayor. I do feel it's important that it's a historic district, but then also let us try and do everything we can to beautify the neighborhood, streetscape programs, other programs, incentivize. There are a lot of people there that are absentee owners. There are a high rental population in Sailboat Bend. And some people do let their properties go to the point where we find ourselves in a situation of demolition by neglect. They neglect it so much that it just basically falls apart and has to be demolished. We have to find ways to create incentives. That's what most cities do when they have historic districts. They have incentives, whether it's transfer development rights, whether it's something that we've done now with the parking. We've cut back on the parking regulations in the historic district. We've done things. We've seen a couple of phases come to us as a commission from the Historic Preservation Board liaison and staff. And we've been approving those, and we have been bettering the ordinance. But I'm just saying that I think that this is a small way that we can say, you know what, we understand that you have this extra layer that no one else has. We want you to follow it. But then on the application, instead of it saying 230 or 310, it'll say 0 for owner of Sailboat Bend or whatever. And, so we lose $7,000 or $10,000 a year. I think we can absorb it.
I would move the item with the amendments if the vice mayor is in agreement with that.
Okay, so there's a resolution that's been introduced to accept the new adopted plan minus the aspect regarding the historic preservation application fee.
Just so that we're clear though, Anthony, are you clear on what we're excising specifically from this item? Because there's a lot listed. I don't know, are we getting rid of all HPV?
No.
Yeah.
No.
What I heard was the vice mayor preferred to have residents be exempted from it. But I will point out that, there are fees that were not captured in the 2008 study. So I would like some clarity on that as well. For instance, there were 178. We never collected any fees for that. There's a new fee that's been estimated per the study that would generate $17,800 if you were to apply it to the number that we had in 2019. So I just want to be clear on what we're doing. I'm happy to, make any amendments we need based on the policy.
Well, is it necessary, Anthony? Do you think, obviously, if the commission agrees and we remove this part from R2, are we then able to just put something together that not on the fly like right now, but that comes back to us where you are very clearly recommending what it would be and where there would be no fee? In other words, that we do it. I mean, obviously this has been here for a while. I don't think we have to do this tonight. I just wanted to throw this out as I was thinking about it when I was reading this agenda item. But what do you think is the best way to go about doing this? Because we could remove this from the fee structure, but that still would not mean that folks coming forward from tomorrow on would pay no fee for those few items. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, unless Alan has any objection to it, I don't see why we couldn't just remove it from the resolution, then come back with an amendment to the reso. But I would rather him comment on that.
Well, there's two. First, I presume the repeal would be without amendment. So we're repealing the previous resolution. The new one, then if you're able to excise, because it has to be across the board. So if you are reasonably clear as to what to excise, that we could do it as amended, removing that. And at some point we'd have to come back. If we do have any fee structure or changes, then we'd have to come back and amend that resolution again.
So I don't want to oversimplify this, but I'd like to do that if I can. So on Exhibit 4, there's this section titled Historic Preservation Development Application, and it lists what those fees are. You could excise that section in its entirety, adopt this, and then bring that section back in a new format if it needed to come back.
As long as
yes, that's right under the urban design and planning set of fees, Chris.
That is correct.
Yes, I see all those line items. And yes, we could do that in a much clearer and effective way. And that makes sense to me because obviously I'm not talking about eliminating the fee to apply for a historic district or historic designation of a property. No, those are okay because typically those are not affecting the individual owner as the others are. You know what I'm saying?
We know what you're trying to get at, but it's just a little complicated.
Not really.
You're repealing the old one right now, so that's all going to be off the table. So whatever we excise out of here, so if you remove all the HPB now, you're not going to have any HPB fees until we get it resolved and amended. That's all I'm trying to say.
All right, so why don't we eliminate all the HPB fees tonight and then come back with any amendment that we may need to augment our policy?
Exactly, with the new fee structure for those 18 line items, exactly.
So, Vice Mayor, this is Chris. I would like to, I'm okay concept there. As I look through these, there's 3 that I would throw out there that you might consider leaving.
See, that's the thing. It's a little complicated.
Only so that we don't have something sneak through the cracks while we didn't have this in place, and that would be.
Okay, go ahead.
Like
what?
To have a fee for 3 things. 1, a certificate of appropriateness. 2, an after the fact administrative certificate of appropriateness, and the designation of a historic district.
Are you good with that?
Okay, so I got the after the fact administrative certificate. What was the other one?
I think in order to have the after the fact, you have to have the real thing. So I think the 3 are a certificate of appropriateness, after the fact.
Wait, I'm looking for which line on HPB administrative certificate of appropriateness?
Correct. Leave that one in, leave in the after the fact, and leave in the designation of historic district.
Because and I apologize, is the certificate of appropriateness, how much is that fee?
$100.
How much?
$100.
Increase its landmark also, not just the district of landmark.
Why do you want to keep that one in?
I really like that I think you have to have that one if you're going to have the penalty one of somebody not doing it on the front end. And I think we run a real risk that if we don't have a penalty for an after the fact certificate of appropriateness, I just don't want to lose something with that unintended consequence of being able to show that there's a penalty for doing it without the process.
Okay, so is the administrative certificate of appropriateness the $100? That's an after the fact?
No, that's a do it the right way. And then
I thought to do it the right way was $230. The second line item, historic district administrative review.
I don't read it that way. I read that the certificate of appropriateness is 100 and the after the fact is 2 times the 100. So at least there's.
Okay, I'm okay with that, Chris.
And then designation of historic district, just and designation of landmark district. So,
Chris, it's Anthony.
I'll come back at a later date.
Yes, Anthony.
Yes, so the only thing I would add is that for the archaeological review, that's actually a reimbursement to a consultant. We would have to pay that separately. That's not staff doing that work.
I'm willing to take that risk to keep this easy for right now.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm fine with archaeological review staying in. It's up to you, but I'm okay.
I'm not tracking what page we're on. I'm not tracking.
We're on page 2 of 3 of Exhibit 4. The top of the page says urban design and planning, and then the second one is historic preservation.
Thank you.
Okay, so
let me see if I can summarize. If we get everybody to page 2, historic preservation, we're going to wipe that slate clean with the exception of designation of historic district, designation of landmarks, administrative certificate of appropriateness, archaeology review, and after the fact administrative certificate of appropriateness.
4 items.
5.
I guess I missed the 5th.
I can go through them again.
The landmark, he's.
Yeah, designation of historic district is 1. Designation of landmarks is 2. Administrative certificate of appropriateness is 3.
Yeah.
After the fact administrative certificate of appropriateness is 4. And archaeology review is 5.
Got it. I'm okay with that. And then you'll come back with a new recommendation and amendment for all of it?
That's correct.
Okay, so Commissioner McKenzie, the resolution you introduced is the one as stated, as modified by the city manager.
That's correct.
Okay. Please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, repealing resolution number 10-265, which adopted a planning and zoning fee schedule pursuant to the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulation, section 47-24.1.h. Fees and costs establishing a new urban design and planning, zoning, and landscape fee schedule that incorporates costs associated with engineering division review and mandating a fee study every 5 years. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
No.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes. R3, quasi judicial resolution approving the Hilton Marina Hotel plat located at 1881 Southeast 17th Street. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. Commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Moritas, do you have any disclosures?
I believe I met with Stephanie Toothaker on this, but I'm sorry, I can't find the date.
You did meet with the applicant.
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor,
None,
you sure?
just a site visit.
Okay. Commissioner McKenzie
Met with the applicant.
and Commissioner Sorensen.
Applicant.
I met with the applicant and the representative as well as the site visit.
Maybe I met with the applicant then.
I think you did.
Oh, I was married there.
Just trying to keep you honest.
Thank you.
He's working hard on that campaign. He can't remember everything right now.
I can't, right. Plus I gotta predict the future. Remember, Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
And you also, Steve, you also forgot to mention that I was at the Sis Trunk Experience during your commission report today. You said the mayor was there. You didn't mention me. I was there with your chicken pot pies.
All right, I'm so sorry. Yes, you were there. I wish you would have told me earlier. It's been a long week. Sorry.
Okay, so, well, we don't expect you to make any site visits outside of your district, especially during a campaign, so. Anyway, we have 3 people that have signed up, but I assume these folks are just here to answer questions. Robert Kane, Stephanie Toothaker, and Jim McLaughlin. Is that correct? Robert Kane, you don't have anything you wanted to add, just here for questions, correct?
They both raised their hand and I'm being unmuted, so Robert can let us know and so can Stephanie.
Okay.
All right, Robert first. Robert, go ahead.
Oh, Stephanie Toothaker's on the line.
We have 2 unmuted at the same time, so don't hear anything from Robert. Stephanie, are you there?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Stephanie Toothaker on behalf of Brookfield BSREP. This is the Hilton Marina. It's as I believe I've shared with you, this is just a plat of the existing property. The hotel is already there. It's a cleanup item. I do have a presentation, but unless you would like me to, or unless you have any questions, I can just make myself available. And Jim McLaughlin is also here for questions.
I think that's all that's necessary. Does anyone have any questions with regard to this item? Okay, there being none, do I hear a motion to close public hearing?
Moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentham. Yes, and public hearing is now closed. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
Introduced. It's just a plat, right?
It's just the plat.
Okay.
and Vice Mayor, that is to approve the plat, correct?
Yes.
Just a plat.
They used to have, remember when they used to have great Sunday brunches at this restaurant years ago?
Yep.
That's when I used to eat a lot. Okay, please call the roll.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, approving a plat entitled Hilton Marina Hotel and providing for an effect.
It was all you could eat for 7.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
That was so exciting.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Thank you, everybody. We move on to public hearings. This is the public hearing 1. This is a quasi judicial ordinance vacating the right of way identified as a 50-foot wide by 134-foot long roadway between Southeast 3rd Avenue and South Federal Highway, known as Southeast 4th Avenue. This is by Initech Properties LLC. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. The commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Commissioner Moritas, do you have any disclosures?
Yes. Let's see, Robert Lockery, page 1, 816.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Yes, 8:15, a day before Commissioner Moritas with Robert Lockery.
You were working on your vacation time.
Was that 2019, Steve, or 2020?
That was 19.
It was 19.
19.
19. Yeah, yeah, that we weren't working. Don't worry.
No.
Not this year. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner McKenzie?
6/24/19, Robert Lockery.
Okay, and Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes, with applicant April 2020 and August 2019.
Okay, I also met with the applicant and their representative on this. Okay.
Mayor, sorry, on the last item, previous item, the Hilton, Robert Kane was wanting to speak, but he was muted. I got a text message.
Okay, because we did call on him.
He was unmuted when we called on him, at least on our screen.
I think we need to go back and give him a chance to speak.
Okay, sure. Mr. Kane, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we had lost you. Let's just take a moment and go back to that previous item. We already voted on it, but what would you like to add, Mr. Kane? We'll give you 3 minutes. Mr. Kane.
This is Robert Kane. I live at 1819 Southeast 17th Street in the Port Condominium.
Okay.
And which is right down the street on Grande Ave from the Hilton. And I have a few points. One, I want to make sure that there's going to be public access to the dock along the intercoastal. And Ms. Toothaker might be able to respond to that. My second point is I'm concerned about the increase in traffic along Grande Drive during the construction as it leads up to the intersection of North Eisenhower Ave, the north part right north of 17th Street Causeway. We have a proposal to redo that intersection because even on moderate days when the convention center was open during convention times, there's a backup of sometimes 30 or 40 cars. When you add the construction traffic on it, it's going to be really bad. And we have a proposal that the MPO is delaying acting on about redoing that North Eisenhower Ave. The third point is that I want to make sure from Ms. Toothaker that the 4 stories is what the height of that 4-story new building height in Hilton is going to be. And the last point is that I want to confirm that there's only going to be approximately 6,000 feet of commercial activities on that Hilton site, because that's what's stated tangentially in the approval of the building.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Alan. Were those all your questions, sir?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for your.
Sure, we'll stay on the line. So Alan, what we approved was a plat. We didn't approve a site plan or anything.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, the questions and the points that gentleman is raising deals with something.
Right, so we're not, Mr. Kane, we're not there to, we're not quite there yet with regard to the questions you're asking, because those concern the structure itself and the operation of it and the building of it. And that's going to come to the commission at a later time. And so tonight we were just approving what's called the plat, which is the layout of the land on which it is on which the building will be built. Apparently, when that whole hotel and Portside Yacht Club was built, no plat was ever created. And tonight we're just here to clean that up. And this provides the condition precedent before a site plan can be submitted.
Actually, I don't know if the site plan's going to be coming to you, maybe Anthony.
That's what I'm checking on right now. I want to see
I
what,
might just go to
It went
staff.
to
see what level.
planning and zoning. Planning and
Okay.
zoning approved it 9-0, but I don't know if you're going to get it.
if it was a site plan level 3, it may have made it to planning and zoning with a call-up period, but I don't know. Anthony, can you let us know in the process where this particular project is?
Yeah, I don't believe that they've submitted for the site plan yet. Stephanie can give an update on that. This is a waterway use, so I believe it would go to planning and zoning board. However, I haven't reviewed it for the actual site plan.
I can answer one of the questions that you had, Mr. Kane. I know the dockage on the outside on the intercoastal is rented, so I guess to that extent it is public access. But I do know that that boats do dock there, and they rent the space.
Because there's a fence there.
Stephanie, are you on the line still?
Of course not. She got it approved. She jumped.
Hi, Mayor, this is Stephanie Toothaker. Yes, I'm still on the line. The site plan for this project was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board in November of 2019. It does not come to City Commission, so the site plan has already been approved. This is just the plat.
So you're just dealing with the plat.
So would it be possible for Mr. Kane to call you and to get his questions answered? Since everything's already been approved, there's nothing else for us to even do tonight.
I would be happy to speak to Mr. Kane again. We have spoken several times in the past, but he's welcome to call me and I'm happy to go through the answers again.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kane, you have her phone number?
No, I do not. If she could give it to me.
Robert, this is Ben. I'll text it to your wife.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Commissioner Johnson.
Thanks, Robert.
And if you have any additional questions, you can work through Commissioner Sorensen. Be happy to help you on this.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Robert. Mayor, thank you. Thanks for looping back on that.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So that has passed. We're back to PH1. Mr. Lockery had signed up, but only for questions only. We've made our disclosures. Any further questions on this? If not, will someone please move to close public hearing?
Move to close.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, the public hearing is now closed on PH1. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
An ordinance vacating that portion of Southeast 4th Avenue platted as Perkins Avenue, a 50-foot road right-of-way lying west of and adjacent to Lot 13, Lot 1, Lauderdale, according to the plat thereof as recorded plat book 2, page 9 of the public records of Dade County, Florida, and retaining a 50-foot public utility easement and a 44-foot public pedestrian access easement located of the Tarpon River south of Southeast 94 east of Southeast 3rd Avenue and west of Federal Highway, all said land situate, lying and being in the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the item is approved. We now move on to PH2. This is a public hearing regarding a quasi judicial ordinance approving a rezoning from A1A Beachfront Area District, that's ABA, to a Planned Development District, a PDD, with associated site plan approval for 215 multi-family residential units and 5,150 square feet of retail and restaurant space, as well as public parking. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in. Commission will announce any site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them a part of the record. Just for the public edification, this is part of a process that began a number of years ago in which the city of Fort Lauderdale did a land swap with the then owner of the property over what we used to call the Natchez property. And we swapped that land for this. I think there was some additional consideration paid to the city. And today, that applicant is coming before the city commission to apply for a site plan as well as a rezoning to build a project that was anticipated as part of the site plan. So does anyone have any disclosures? Commissioner Moritas.
Yes, Stephanie, an applicant 4/24/20, and then Stephanie Toothaker 9/11/20.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, and bear with me, there are quite a few here for me, Mayor. For over 2 years, I've been attending Central Beach Alliance meetings. So I've been at all of those meetings. Also, I've had numerous phone calls over those 2 years with a variety of Central Beach Alliance officers. My meetings on this project started on May 17th, 2018 with Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. May 24th, 2018, Stephanie Toothaker and Jim Novick. August 30th, 2018 with Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. October 22nd, 2018 with Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. 11/15/2018, I met with City Attorney Alan Bolo on this. On 11/26/2018, I met with Hank Hury from Alhambra Place Condominium on this. On 11/29/2018, I met with Stephanie Toothaker, Alan Bolo, Chris Lagerboom, and Anthony Fajardo on this. On January 29th, 2019, I met with Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. On February 18, 2019, I met with Stephanie Toothaker, Alan Bolo, Chris Lagerboom, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. On May 2nd, 2019, I met with Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. On October 14th, 2019, I had a post-DRC community meeting at the Hilton Beach Resort. On December 12th, 2019, I met with Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, and John Sapo. February 3rd, 2020, Stephanie Toothaker. April 23rd, 2020, Stephanie Toothaker, Bob Bale, John Sapo. And June 15th, 2020, with the Central Beach Alliance. I think that's about it.
Well, Vice Mayor, you certainly earned your keep.
Thank you.
Commissioner McKenzie.
I've met over the years with the applicant and Stephanie Toothaker, and as recent as yesterday.
And Commissioner Sorensen.
Applicant June 4th, 2018, July 25, 2018, and September 14, 2020.
I also met with the applicant on multiple occasions as well as Ms. Toothaker. And I did a site visit and I did speak with members of the community. I think Mr. Novick a couple of times over the last couple of years on behalf of the Alhambra building. As also Mr. Brown, I believe I spoke with him at one point regarding the position of the Central Beach Alliance. So we have a number of people who've signed up to speak, but I'm going to offer Ms. Toothaker the opportunity to give a presentation tonight on behalf of the applicant. Ms. Toothaker, how much time do you think you need to make your presentation?
I have 15 minutes. I will endeavor not to use the full 15, but I would appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and why don't you begin your presentation?
Mayor, I just need to swear.
Yeah, Ms. Toothaker, we can't see you, so we're gonna have to assume you're raising your right hand. We're about to swear you in, so please raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Do we have this? Stephanie, before you move on, do we have the ability to
We can move over to a panel.
that allows that so we can perfect the record? I'd rather do that. Stephanie, are you in a position that you can share your video with us?
Oh. You're live.
Wow.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, City Attorney. I'm sitting in Coulter's conference room, and we have a large number of people here. John Sapo, Bob Vale, Suzanne Danielson is with DC Engineering. Kobe Karp and Taylor Shimate are with Kobe Karp Architecture. Joe Williams is with Coulter, and Stephanie Mayorga is with me, and we would all be happy to be sworn.
Could you please raise your right hand, those that she just introduced, if you're going to be testifying at all? I think a number of you did sign up to speak. You don't all have to speak if you don't want to, but should you decide, could you please raise your right hand and please swear them in?
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Now we can begin. 15 minutes.
Thank you. I have a PowerPoint presentation, if you can allow me a moment for it to load. Are we on?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, so thank you, Mayor, for sharing some of the history. I will try to sort of go through that portion quickly. As you mentioned, this is the property that is known right now as the Sebastian parking lot. It is the entire city block between Alhambra Street on the south, Sebastian on the north, and it's in between, I'm sorry, the other way around, excuse me, and Seabreeze Boulevard and North Birch on the west. It also includes, it also includes the triangle parcel that is in between Seabreeze and A1A, and that is where we are proposing some off-site improvements. Next slide. The property has a land use of Central Beach Regional Activity Center and a prior zoning of A1A Beachfront District ABA. We are requesting a rezoning to the PDD zoning district, and I'll explain why we're doing that. Next slide. So we wanted to just share with you the context of this project. It is proposed at almost 300 feet, but it is consistent with some of the other properties in the area. And we just did an analysis of what sits around us. And I think on the next slide, I can actually show you some of those buildings. So here are some of the buildings that surround this property. We do have, of course, some building, it's 290 feet, 270 feet, 240 feet, 245. These are many buildings, the W, Jackson Towers, a lot of the buildings that you, of course, are very familiar with, but it just gives you the context of why the land swap was proposed, why the commission voted for it, which was to move this kind of development to the Central Beach area and away from the Bonnet House. Next slide. So we've gone through a full analysis. We have been in the process, as you noted, if you, as you all talked about the many disclosures that you have over time. We have been in this process for a very, very long time, and we're very pleased to present to you tonight this site plan that we hope has widespread support. We worked very hard to work with our neighbors and are really pleased to present this. It is a residential product at 215 multifamily residential units with 5,150 square feet of retail and restaurant and public parking. Next slide. So again, the history, I don't need to read all this, but there was a land swap. We did enter later in 2017, we entered into a development, a declaration of restrictive covenants. That declaration includes a couple of things. It provides that the triangle parcel that I had shown to you in a few slides ago, that will never be built upon, that will always remain open space. And it also provided that we would replace all of the public parking that exists on the Sebastian site today. That's 77 public parking spaces. Those will be run and controlled by the City of Fort Lauderdale, and the revenues go to the City of Fort Lauderdale. And we reserve 43 semi-public parking spaces that are a replacement of the lot that is at the westernmost portion of the site that currently serves the Casablanca Cafe. And those spaces are provided back to Casablanca Cafe. And if Casablanca Cafe does not want them, the city has a right of first refusal to those spaces. In December of 18, we did a second amendment to the declaration after the developer had acquired some additional property to finish out the lot. And during that time, we allocated trips to this parcel. So this project does not pull any trips out of the existing pool. It reserved 141 trips, and those have already been allocated to the property. Next slide. So I want to just show you where we started. When we started this project, we actually had a different site plan. We proposed a site plan that was consistent with the ABA zoning district. It was an 18-story product that was 310 units with 13,200 square feet of retail and restaurant use. We presented that site plan to the Central Beach Alliance, and it became very clear that many of our neighbors were not satisfied with that project, predominantly because it sat squarely in front of them. And at that point, when we started having those discussions with our neighbors, we realized that there was an opportunity to do something better on this site that would work for everybody, that would work obviously for the developer, but also importantly to work for our neighbors. So we started to seek the possibility of redesigning the property, but there was no way to do that under the current zoning district, which is why we decided to seek the PDD zoning district. Next slide. So the original site plan, as I said, was 18 stories, 310 units. And you can see here the public entry for the parking was on Birch Road, which was another one of the issues that we were able to change through the PDD. And the site was very, it had a lot of massing. It was very square and fat. Next slide. And the buildings were very, there were two buildings at that time. One building was oriented west to east and one was north to south, and they took up a good portion of the property. Slide. And this is what that project looked like. It was right in front of Alhambra Place, and it did impact their view corridors. Next slide. Next slide. And so we decided, as I mentioned, we decided to sit down with the district commissioner, now vice mayor, our architects, our neighbors, and really rolled up our sleeves and figured out how we could make this a better project, something that everybody could be proud to be a part of. And we did spend a great deal of time. As you can see, I don't need to read you all these dates. I think it was apparent from the disclosures that we have been in the cycle for a very long time trying to get this right. But I think one of the things that's most important to understand about this revised PDD project is that because we were skinnying up the buildings, we were able to make those units larger and more luxurious. So this is a high-end, extremely luxurious product. And when we revised to PDD, we actually reduced the number of units by 95 units, which is a 30% decrease. And we also reduced the retail restaurant square footage by over 8,000 square feet, which is a 36% increase. So significant reduction in the amount of development on the site, in spite of the fact that the buildings are taller. Next slide.
So you kind of squeeze the buildings to give them a smaller footprint.
That's right.
And open the view corridor to the buildings to the west. Is that what you're saying to us?
That's exactly what we did. We skinnied up the buildings. We took out almost 100 units. We took out a significant amount of retail. We reduced the overall impact of the building on infrastructure, both traffic and water and sewer, and we moved the buildings out of the view corridor. A couple of other things that we were able to do by going to the PDD, we moved the public parking entry off of Birch Road and moved it. You can see here at the top of your screen, it shows you where the public parking entry is. We moved the loading entry, so the loading is mid-block on the north side. We were able to really work on bringing the podium to a place that was compatible with the neighborhood. And I'm going to show on the next slide, even more importantly, here we're just showing you some more images of the overall site plan. You can see that the property is set back significantly from Seabreeze. It's more than any other project on the beach. Having that corner and the triangle parcel really allowed us to do something special for the beach. I'm going to go to the next slide. And this is the slide that I really wanted to get to, which shows you the difference between the original site plan and the PDD site plan. If you look at the red dashed line, There's two of them, one on the northern side and one on the western side. That's the outline of the original towers. By skinnying up the project and going higher and reducing the number of units, we were able to move those towers almost completely out of the view corridor of our neighbors behind us to the west. That's a really significant thing, and I'll show you on a later slide how those view corridors are preserved. But the other thing that allowed us to do was create a really significant amount of tower separation between the two towers of 68 feet, 7 inches. That's a really significant amount of tower separation. And what that does is it's not just the building immediately to our west, but all the buildings around us have improved view corridors because the buildings are no longer sitting right next to each other. They're significantly separated from each other. It's a really significant impact that we feel that the PDD allowed us to accomplish. If you look up at the right hand of your screen, you can see how far the building is set back from Seabreeze. It's 111 feet setback. That is an extremely wide setback from the beach. You don't find that anywhere else on the beach. Next slide. So here's what I was referring to. These are the view corridors. So you can see by moving those buildings out of everyone's view corridor, you really have opened up and preserved those views from practically every angle that you can identify. Next slide. We had gotten some questions about the density. We are well under, there's no density cap in the rack, but we had just done an analysis that went through this. We meet or exceed any provision in the code. Next slide. And I just would like to take you through some images because it's really a spectacular product. Kobe Karp and his team made revision after revision after revision, and every time he did it, it became more and more beautiful. Really just a spectacularly clean product. Here we're just showing you some of the images and we can just kind of go through these. This is looking east from the back side, from the west side of the property. Next slide. This is the main entrance to the condominium tower at the north-south Paseo. The Paseo is another product that we were able to add through the PDD. You can see there's an extremely wide, almost 2-story entrance, and this faces south. Next slide. And again, this is looking east. Next slide. And here's just looking from the beach, looking back to the west. You can see Alhambra Place sitting behind us, and you can see how wide that front setback is and how much opportunity there is for pedestrian activity, for outdoor seating, for a restaurant. There's really just so much opportunity for those linear parks all around the entire site. Next slide. Here we're just showing you some more images. Next slide. This is on the north side of the property. This is the linear park that runs along the north side, looking from the west, looking east. This is just a different view of that same image. And here we've dropped the towers in to show you how they would look on the site. We'll just kind of go through these. There we go. There they are again. You can see in some of these images how by separating those towers and creating that very wide separation between them, that we've really worked very hard to preserve those view corridors. And next slide. And one of the things that our neighbors asked us to do was to consider adding bullnosing to the buildings. By doing that, it even further increased the view corridors. So we provided them some images so they could look at those, and we've not fully been able to render those just due to time, but we are committed to doing that, and we've agreed to ensure that requirement is met. Next slide. As I mentioned, we do believe the product is completely compatible with our neighbors. I showed you some slides in the beginning that shows that this property is appropriate for this kind of product. It's compatible with a lot of the buildings that have already been built on the beach. And, because it is an entire city block, we've really been able to preserve those linear parks all around the building, which is really to the benefit of all our neighbors. We do have a tremendous amount of screening, frosted glass that minimizes any light pollution coming from the garage. The parking podium is entirely screened in that way. And as I've shown you on various different slides, we've been able to move the access to the public parking. We've created an opportunity for Casablanca to to be able to park those cars, to valet those cars, and it's closer to the restaurant now. We think that's a really important component. And we've worked very hard on making sure that we're making this a positive addition to the neighborhood. Next slide. We've gone through a full adequacy analysis. We've checked every box. We made sure that every aspect of infrastructure was met. This is as it relates to the parking and the traffic. And as I mentioned, we did preserve 141 trips through the declaration of restrictive covenants, but by reducing the number of units by 30% and the corresponding restaurant retail, we reduced the number of trips that we actually need to 127. So upon hopefully the rezoning and site plan approval, we can release those units back to the city. Next slide. Water and wastewater capacity. We've completely adequate water and wastewater. Next slide. Parking and vehicular access. We did a full analysis. As I mentioned, Suzanne Danielson is here. The IT's document parking generation shows that 488 parking spaces are needed. We provided 497. And there are also, as I mentioned, the public parking spaces. Next slide. This is just an analysis of the public improvements. And as I mentioned, we do have the linear parks all the way around the site, but we've also committed to enhancing the triangle parcel. And I'll show you on the next slide what that looks like. So you can see this is just a rendering of what that's proposed to look like. Architectural Alliance had worked very closely with the city's consultants on really making sure that this is just an absolutely beautiful, lush area. We did preserve the handicap parking spaces that are there in the parking in the triangle parcel right now, but the overall parcel is being improved. And we also did agree to do some art installations. And this is just a concept of what that art installation might look like. Slide.
We almost finished.
Almost done. There is a second art installation that we had worked with one of the adjacent buildings on. So I just want to mention that is something that we're committed to doing as well. I don't have an image of it. And I don't need to take you through the rezoning criteria. We've done a full analysis. Your staff has done a full analysis. We meet the rezoning criteria to rezone from the existing zoning to the PDD zoning district. Slide. And that's the end of my presentation. I'll just submit all those for the record, and my entire team's here to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We'll hold your team's request to speak aside in case there are any questions that need to be asked. We'll go to the neighbors. I have a few neighbors who've signed up to speak. So I'm going to call your names in threes so you can be prepared to speak. We'll start out with
ask Novik to speak.
Right, so Mr. Novick, you'll be first, followed by Bill Brown, followed by James Cataldo. So Mr. Novick, are you there? Mr. Novick?
Yes, can you hear me? This is Jim. I'm here.
Yeah, okay. Good evening.
So before we start, Jim, just saying we're talking procedurally here real quick to make sure that we get the record right. We do need to swear you in. Do you have the ability to speak to the commission tonight on video or not?
I'm fine with that. I mean, it's a good thing. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so just an announcement for those that are going to be in line to speak. Be prepared to answer the question whether or not you can be on video tonight and for the purposes of being sworn in. So let's go ahead and convert Mr. Novick to.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm fine with you videoing me, but I see. Okay, start my video. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay. Hello. I would have combed my hair. You know, I can be on TV.
Okay.
It's scary, Jim. It's scary.
I'll get past the fright in a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, please raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, your 3 minutes begins.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, I'm Jim Novick. I'm the president of the Alhambra Place Association. And we, definitely in our opinion, but maybe by others, we are in the most directly impacted by this development. We are in support of this development. We have worked with the developer to get to a place that we
feel very comfortable with. And we would like you to know that the whole process of this new development zoning is something that if you didn't have this, I think the old building would have been, and I hate to use the word, but I'm going to, it probably would have been a disaster for our building, because our building is only 190 feet. If you go by the records they show there, they have the ability to build a 200-foot building. And if it's squatted out, some of our residents said, we'll never see the sun again. So we really appreciate the efforts on the city, the developer, and everybody that's been involved to point. I'm hoping this project does get approved tonight because we do support it. As far as the height of the building goes, for us, as I just said, it could be 600 feet. I know it won't be, and maybe some people would oppose that, but anything that it can do to enhance the neighborhood and give us a more open feeling, what I call ground level, we are very much in support of. And this design did open up the views, not just for our Alhambra place, but I believe it opened up the views, as Stephanie showed there, around the neighborhood. So we were working, to try to make this a better community for everybody and a better project for everybody. I think that's pretty much all I really had to say.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, Bill, Jim. Thank you so much. Bill Brown, are you there? Bill?
See him on the list. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you put on video, please? Are you decent?
It takes a couple extra clicks. Where did he go? There he is. Perfect. All right, Bill, we can see you.
Can you raise your right hand, Bill?
Your hand, can you raise your right hand? Can't see it raised. We're going to do the oath. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
You swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. You have your 3 minutes.
Mayor, as president of Central Beach, typically we're allowed 5 minutes. I don't anticipate taking 5 if I run over the 3.
Take what you need. Take what you need.
I just want to keep you on track.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the commission. My name is William Brown. I'm the president of Central Beach Alliance. As the counsel for the developer laid out in her presentation, this has been brought before the Central Beach Alliance's membership on several occasions. There was one proposal that was voted down, which included more units, smaller buildings that did not really fit the neighborhood needs. That got voted down. That's when they came back with the project that's before you tonight that was presented. That project was first presented to us in May of 2019. Then subsequent to that CBA meeting, as she stated, Ms. Toothaker stated, there was 2 public participation meetings, one in June and then in October of 19. Took questions from the residents and the condo owners around the properties as well. And then it was scheduled to come back in March of this year for a vote when COVID hit. So we had to cancel the meeting due to the COVID-19. We were hoping as a membership to were able to get together in April, May, and June. Subsequently, we were not able to meet in person. So then in July, we had to put a virtual meeting together. I only bring this up because that limited our participation because most of our members go back up north during the summer months. So a vote was taken at that particular meeting on this proposed development, and I will give you the vote total and I'll explain it in more detail. There was 67 no votes and 19 yay votes. For the 19 in favor, 67 against. Of those 67, there were 5 condo buildings that carried 10 votes each for, that's the equivalent to 50 of the 67 votes and 17 individual. Subsequently, after that vote, the developer and their attorney have met with some of the adjacent condo associations around there and reached some resolution. I think that that would have probably changed the outcome of those negative votes to be favorable votes from that meeting on July the 9th. Again, given the fact that there was the original proposal, now this proposal, if this proposal does not get approval tonight, the original proposal will be back on the table. Of the two proposals, it is my personal feeling, and talking with some of the residents that did vote in favor of the project, that this is the best proposal for this site of the two. It is a major project, first PDD for the barrier island. It does put some issues as regards to the infrastructure and the traffic, but I think that the developer and their council has worked with city staff to try to rectify these issues, and we continue to be good neighbors. We appreciate the commitment for the public art, especially on the public art on parcel E that she just mentioned verbally at planning and zoning. That is city-owned property. There was a parcel that was connected to one of the adjacent condo buildings there on the southwest corner of Sebastian and A1A. So if this gets approved tonight, I think this will be another crown jewel for the barrier island. And it was unfortunate that COVID hit at a time that a project of this magnitude had to be done virtually and with limited participation. But I think at the end of the day, we were able to accomplish what needed to be accomplished. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'll entertain any questions.
Okay, thank you. James Cataldo, followed by Jay Flynn. Oh, Jay, you're with Coulter, so I'll pull that out. Followed by Chad McCurry. So James Cataldo and Chad McCurry. So James, are you there? We see James Cataldo?
So James called on the phone.
So
He doesn't have a camera.
So he doesn't have a camera, but does he have to go *6?
He could, yes, *6.
Okay, so James, can you do *6, please, from your phone? Still showing that he's muted. *6. Do we have the ability to unmute him, or does he have to unmute himself from where he is?
We asked to unmute.
We asked him to
He
unmute.
should be receiving it through his cell phone.
All right, we'll come back to you, James. Is Chad McCurry there? Chad, are you there?
Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Hear
How are
me? Hey, how are you guys?
you? Good. So we got 3 minutes. Can you give us a video of yourself?
Just 1 second. Get him sworn in.
Can you turn on your video?
There you go. I think I did.
Do we have him?
Hello?
I see a green space.
Yeah, I hit all the buttons. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that.
There we go. Okay.
All
Now,
right.
raise your right hand.
Okay.
You swear or affirm the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mayor Trentalis, Vice Mayor Glassman, and Commissioners, good evening. My name is Chad McCurry, and I'm the president and the unit owner of the Wedgwood Court Condo Association, a 5-story building located at 112 North Birch Road, which is at the corner of Birch and Sebastian. Our property is located to the immediate south of the 3000 Alhambra project, within feet of the 300-foot west tower that is proposed as part of this development. Our membership has been engaged in monitoring this project for years through its multiple site plans. We've been engaged with the developer, including the representative, Stephanie Toothaker. We greatly appreciate Ms. Toothaker's willingness to engage with us and other neighbors regarding this project. As residents of the beautiful Central Beach area, we look forward to a project that's compatible, appropriate, and complementary to the surrounding area. In conversations in a formal letter to Ms. Toothaker, we've expressed our concerns about the negative impact that this project may have on our property, including noise, vibrations, dust, loss of privacy, height and compatibility, among other matters. Since these hovering 300-foot towers, especially the West Tower, have moved so very closely to our 5-story building, we are concerned and hope that these concerns will be addressed by the developer should this project pass. I thank you for your time this evening.
So did the, if I may ask you, did the association vote on this, or these are just concerns that you're expressing tonight?
We solicited feedback from our members from our association, and then our board discussed that and had a conversations then with Ms. Toothaker just about general concerns as it related to impact.
Impact during construction?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And Ms. Toothaker, you have your team there. You hear their consternation over the impact. We got to make sure that the roadways are open and the dust does not spread into there. They have a cute building there. I've been there several times. We have your commitment to make sure that the impact is minimal on there in the environment of Wedgwood.
Mayor, yes, you do. And Chad and I had just traded correspondence just very, very recently. And Chad, I will, you know, that we'll continue to have conversations, and you and I will talk again before the second reading.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can they get pool privileges? Just kidding.
You never know.
You never know. Okay, thank you so much. Is James Cataldo there?
We've asked him to unmute again. Let's see. James Cataldo. So Mayor, we've recognized the name twice and asked him to unmute, and he has not in either of the two.
James, can you unmute *6? He's watching at AT&T Uverse. Give him 7 seconds to hear what I'm saying. Okay.
We'll move on.
No luck. Okay. All right, so now, Ms. Toothaker, I have Jay Flynn, I have Sarah Del Negri, Gavin Thomas, and Blake Kidwell. These are all folks on your team, correct?
That's correct. Those are all people on the team. Yes, Mayor. Thank you.
Are there any closing remarks you'd like to make?
I just would like to thank again the Central Beach Alliance, Mr. Novick, Chad McCory, and the entire neighborhood for bearing with us. We worked really hard to get to a product and a project that we could all be proud of. And I did, and particularly want to thank the Vice Mayor for his patience and perseverance in guiding his neighborhood. And I want to thank the entire commission. We were very appreciative that we are at this point, and thank you for your support.
All right, great. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So moved to seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, so PH2 public hearing is now closed. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance approving the rezoning and the associated site plan?
Introduced.
Been introduced. Any questions?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
might I just make a comment?
Go right ahead.
I really appreciate it. Obviously, I've been following this project for actually almost as long as we were seated as commissioners back in March of 2018. And I just wanted to make a point, and maybe if Ms. Toothaker could put up that slide of the beach shot with all of the buildings that surround the site of where this is going to be, because I think this is important for everyone to understand the importance of neighborhood feedback and working with neighborhoods. Because do you have that you could put up there, Stephanie?
We're getting to it.
Yeah.
I think I'm on mute. Hold on.
No, you're good.
Okay. There it is.
Yeah, and then the one where you actually see the buildings from ground level.
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at the buildings that she just put up, and you take a look at what's surrounding this site, you'll see some examples of years past. If you look at the 3 buildings just to the south, years past, when no one cared what the neighborhood had to say, you got buildings like, and not to say that it's not a beautiful building design-wise, but look at the Ritz-Carlton actually blocking the northernmost portion of Beach Place. Talk about no setbacks. And look at the width of the building, look at the size of the podium, look at all of the podiums from that building, the building next to it, and the building next to it. What I'm saying is that was back in the day when no one cared what the neighborhood had to say and no one respected the neighborhood. Thank goodness things changed over the years. And what I want to commend is the developer and the neighborhood for sticking to it, because the first site plan that was presented, no one liked. And I had a deja vu of back on the old Ireland's Inn site when what's now the Alberge came forward with, again, squat buildings, high podium. People were so upset with that development. It took years for the neighborhood to work with the developer of the old Ireland's Inn site to come up with a project now that everyone really thinks is beautiful, with a sloping building that starts higher and goes gradually down towards the neighborhood to respect the neighborhood at ground level. Separation, you can see the air, you can see the sun. Same thing here. So you look at the 2 buildings that have come about from the rezoning that we've granted, and you look at the work that the neighborhood has done, and you realize that from a point where there was a lot of controversy and a contentious behavior from both sides, we came to a point where people really worked together over 2 years. So I want to commend the neighborhood. I want to commend the developers for doing this, because at the end of the day, we have a much better project on this site. And again, the mutual respect between the development community and the neighborhood is evident in the end product. So I just wanted to thank everybody for sticking to it and sticking to the due diligence. And yes, you can see to the south of what was proposed here, how buildings, there's a total different look in terms of architecture, because this one respects what the neighborhood wanted and actually discussed with the neighborhood. And that's exactly what I'm talking about to the south of there. Again, thank you to everyone involved. Look forward to a beautiful project, one that we will have beautiful landscaping and promenades and beautiful linear parks all around. And you'll be able to walk around and through and still see the water and the sky. So thank you to everyone. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mayor, and I'm happy to move forward with this.
Okay. Just to augment your comments, what I appreciate most is the developers' eagerness to create a more verdant environment in and around the base of the buildings, which enhances the entire region, not just the building site itself, but in and around the building. It creates a nice open feeling and helps to take away the hard surface that oftentimes we see associated with new construction and these types of buildings. Anyway, so the item has been introduced. If there are no more questions, please call the roll.
An ordinance amending section 47-1.6.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of City of Fort Lauderdale and Schedule A revised compilation attached thereto, and by reference made a part thereof, so as to rezone from A1A Beachfront Area District to Planned Development District all of lots 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and a portion of lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 14,
Chris.
15,
So
block
3,
5,
4, 5.
Lauderdale, Mar, according to plat thereof recorded in plat book 7, page 30 of the public record of Broward County, Florida, located west of Seabreeze Boulevard, north of Sebastian Street, east of North Birch Road, and south of Alhambra Street. All said lands being in the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Long time, yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, congratulations and good luck, and we appreciate your investing in our community. Thank you so much. So PH3 is a request to defer to October 6th. Do I hear a motion to defer PH3?
Motion to defer.
Move. Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and PH3 is now moved to October 6th. PH4, this has also been requested to be deferred to October 6th. Do I hear a motion to defer?
Motion to
Move.
defer.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, PH4 is now deferred. PH5, there's been a request to defer to October 6th. Do I hear a motion to defer?
Motion to defer.
Second. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and the item has been deferred to October 6th. OFR 1 is the first reading and ordinance amending section 2851 of the city's code of ordinances regarding permit classifications, application, deleting the existing fee for outside sanitary sewer service construction permits, and providing a reference to the new fee in section 25-325 parens I of the city's code of ordinances. No one has signed up to speak. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
There are no questions. Please call the roll.
An ordinance of the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, amending chapter 28 water, wastewater and stormwater, article 2, division 3, rates and charges, section 28-51, permit classifications, application of the code of ordinances of the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, by deleting permit fee in 28-51BD and providing for severability, reduction of ordinance provisions, and an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trent House.
Yes, and OFR 1 is approved on first reading. These are now ordinances on second reading. OSR 1, ordinance amending ordinance number C-08-24 as amended by ordinance number C-10-21 and ordinance C-18-09, creating the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee in accordance with the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program, SHIP, pursuant to section 420-9076 of the Florida statutes. Someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Mayor, this one just needs to be adopted as amended. There's in the membership, the ordinance says 13 and it should be 11.
Okay.
Introduced as amended in the adoption recommended by the city clerk.
That in R1. Okay.
Okay, it's been introduced by Commissioner McKenzie as amended. If there are no other questions, please call the roll.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale amending ordinance number C-08-24 as amended by ordinance number C-10-21 and ordinance number C-18-09 creating the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee in accordance with the State Housing Initiatives Partnership Program pursuant to section 420.9076 Florida statutes, providing for inclusion of one locally elected official of the City of Fort Lauderdale, providing for additional duties providing for severability, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinance provisions, and providing for an effective date. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. OSR 2, this also is a second reading. Quasi judicial ordinance approving a rezoning from residential multifamily mid-rise, medium high density district to parking lot district. Allocation of 0.25 acres of commercial flexibility acreage to construct a surface parking lot located at 1016 Southeast Second Court by 800 Las Olas LLC and Mustang Properties, Inc. Anyone wishing to speak must be sworn in, and the commission will announce that site visits, communications, or expert opinions received and make them part of the record. Commissioner Moritas, do you have any additional disclosures?
Nothing new.
Vice Mayor?
Nothing new.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Nothing new.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Nothing new.
Okay. I have, since the last reading, and the last time it came up, I have since met with the applicant and their representative. Okay, so Mr. Lockery has signed up to speak only for questions. If there are no questions or comments, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and public hearing is now closed. Would someone like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce.
It's been introduced.
An ordinance amending section 47-1.6.b of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida Unified Land Development Regulations through the revision of the official zoning map of City of Fort Lauderdale and Schedule A revised compilation attached thereto, and by reference made a part thereof so as to rezone from RMN 25 residential multifamily mid-rise medium high density to X-P parking lot through the allocation of commercial flexibility lots 7 and 8, lot 21 for the Hammock, according to the plat thereof. Recorded in plat book 1, page 17 of the public records of Broward County, Florida, located west of southeast 12th Avenue, north of east Los Olas Boulevard, east of southeast 10th Terrace, and south of southeast 2nd Court, all said land being in the City of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, Florida. Vice Mayor Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Mayor Trentalis.
Yes, and the ordinance is now approved on second reading. Is there any additional business of the commission?
I do have one. I have one thing tonight. I think Commissioner Sorensen, you had one thing tonight. You okay if I lead real quick and then you can
go for it.
So I just want to update the mayor and commission on where we are with respect to the budget that was adopted last night and the collective bargaining agreements that we have in place with our employees. As you recall, there's two things that we asked the bargaining units to consider this year. One was to delay the movement into FRS by a year. The second was to freeze organization-wide, citywide cost of living adjustment of 1.5%. We brought back, based upon their feedback, the entry back into the FRS, and that did in fact approve in the budget last night. The FOP and the IAFF have been great to deal with in recognizing the revenues that we've reported and are willing to forego that cost of living adjustment for the next fiscal year. The Teamsters and Federation have not been so willing to get on board. And so at this point, we do have a shortage of funding with those two unions. There are things I can go to in their contract to find that funding, but that will typically cause you all to get phone calls. And that's why I want to just put you on notice that if you receive any of those calls, please refer employees back to their bargaining agent, and we will continue to negotiate with those two unions as to how we recognize the reduction in the budget that we need to be able to meet the balanced budget that you all adopted last night. So,
Okay.
it's unfortunate that that position has been taken, but we will get through it. So just wanted to give you that update.
Okay, Commissioner Sorensen?
Mayor, I just wanted to recognize Chaz Adams is retiring from service from the city, I think the end of this month. Chris, is that right?
That's right. He caught me last week and said, I'm going to retire. And hang out with my family, and anytime it's a family decision, it's supported. He'll actually be technically, on our payroll for a couple weeks after the end of the month, and I intend on doing something more formally to recognize his service and commitment to Fort Lauderdale over decades. And so we wish him well in retirement, and certainly is a face and a voice that's been around in Fort Lauderdale for decades, and will be missed.
More face and voice. The man who was always there, always stood behind us, always made sure we looked good, really was a quiet force behind everything we did here. So I too want to thank him for all the work he did and his commitment to the city. And good luck to everything that you choose to do, Chaz, and the best of health to you.
Thank you, Chaz.
Anything further? Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
The recording has stopped.
We know when we're on mute.